So remember when Labour told you that they believe in zero tolerance? Remember all those purges of the left, all done in the name of ridding anti-Semitism from the party? Well, they certainly do take zero tolerance seriously, unless you're a transphobe and or on the right of the party. So Rosie Duffield, Labour MP for Canterbury, was cleared of anti-Semitism and transphobia. So if you didn't know the initial story, lonely divorced loser Graham Linehan wrote a transphobic tweet about Eddie Izzard in which he literally engaged in Holocaust denial. Sky headline reads, "I'm a trans superhero, but if I'd lived in Nazi Germany, I'd been murdered for it," which Linehan responded by saying, "Ah, yes, the Nazis, famously bigoted against straight white men with blonde hair. Trans people were killed in the Holocaust, and it's very likely that Eddie Izzard would have been killed too." Now, I recommend reading this article in Scientific American. The forgotten history of the world's first trans clinic, the Institute for Sexual Research in Berlin, would be a century old if it hadn't fallen victim to Nazi ideology. It goes on to explain that research was being done when it came to gender fluidity identity. There were many trans people who attended the clinic, which was then later shut down by the Nazis. And it was one of the first forms of book burning on this exact thing. Now, Rosie Duffield liked the tweet, a tweet that not only attacked a fellow Labour member, but denies victims of the Holocaust. And then she went on GBB's and defended her position.
Graham Linehan is a satirist. You know, I used to write satire before I got to be an MP, and I recognised that he was taking the pee out of someone who essentially is in the privileged position of being the very person that the Nazis described as being an ideal, a tall, blonde, straight, white man. And I thought that there was so much irony there.
Although he claims that he wants to be called she at times, but he is still male.
Trans person. But, you know, we didn't use that language, and the Nazis certainly didn't use that language, and I thought it was really, really tasteless to put himself in a situation where Jews and gay people and Roma travellers were and the disabled were persecuted.
First off, Graham isn't a satirist. He's a lunatic, bigoted fuck who has nothing else to do apart from harassing people and calling everyone a groomer, including David bloody Tennant, who was a national treasure for simply standing up for the trans community. But this exact thing would potentially get her thrown in prison if she had done this in Germany, because Holocaust denial is illegal, and that includes denying certain communities as victims. Trans people were victims, and she's going on TV denying that. Yet, she has been cleared from the Labour Party. Now, Duffield wrote on Twitter to confirm it. "The Labour Party placed me under investigation last year under allegation, which I strenuously denied, of anti-Semitism and transphobia. Immediately before Christmas, I was informed that the existing allegations, which had been confirmed by the party to the Sunday Times, had been dismissed by the NEC. There was no case to answer, and nothing I had done had breached any Labour Party rule. I was completely exonerated." No, you were not completely exonerated, you vile person. It's simply due to the fact that 1, Labour have never cared about anti-Semitism, 2, don't give a shit about transphobia, and 3, will protect those who are on the Labour right. And anyone from the left, well, you can't step a toe out of line without getting suspended or expelled. Contrast this with Diane Abbott, who is still suspended. We don't know what's going on with her position. Now, what Rosie did was probably equally as bad as Diane Abbott's letter, maybe even worse, with the difference being that Diane Abbott didn't mean to cause offence and she later apologised, whereas Duffield constantly doubles down on a bigotry. But because Diane is on the left, well, she's not going to get easy treatment, is she? Now, this wasn't some sort of official investigation. It was decided by the NEC. Now, we have independent investigations for some forms of bigotry, but it should be for all. We shouldn't have a handful of people just decide, well, all is well, when clearly it's not. But Duffield is a repeat offender. She's been transphobic multiple times. I mean, she barely talks about anything else. In fact, many of her former staffers complain about her transphobia and homophobia, which nothing was done. She's also defended Graham Linehan multiple times, and this image shows how awful these people are. Every last thing about the trans movement is evil, right down to its sickly pedo flag. My friend Glinner is one of the kindest, most generous people I know. He's also the genius behind Father Ted. No, we don't agree on everything. Rosie shouldn't be an MP. She shouldn't be anywhere near politics, let alone the Labour Party. But surprise, surprise, Labour will protect the worst kinds of people as long as they sit in the correct faction, which is the Labour right. And I'm surprised she hasn't defected to the Tories yet, although she's hinted at it. And I don't know why she doesn't just hurry up and fuck off to the Tories, although I wouldn't be satisfied until she's out of Parliament. But once again, Labour are giving us reasons to not vote for them.